Yeah.
I do not believe in universal health care. I do not believe birth control should be given out under health care. I think it's terrible for women and young girls. They should be educated naturally on their bodies. I think that is for the government to literally make us sick and kill us. I do not believe a dollar should go to anything trans or transitioning. I'm so sorry. Women get cancer, lose their breasts, all these things. Children have cancer. I would give that money to anything in the world. That is a choice. I cannot put a dollar.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So glad you're here for this one. Today we're stepping into something that got real fast. A panel sat down where a couple of conservative women came face to face with a group of trans guests, and the whole thing centered on one explosive question: should taxpayers be footing the bill for gender transition care? What started as a calm conversation about healthcare turned into a full-on clash about choice, fairness, and where the line actually gets drawn. And trust me, the moments in here are not what you'd expect. Make sure you stick around all the way through, because the back half is where everything really comes together, and one admission near the end honestly caught me off guard. And while you're watching, do me a favor and drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're tuning in from. I genuinely love seeing how far this community reaches. Alright, enough from me, let's get into it.
Denying trans people healthcare is a human rights violation.
Oh, interesting. I'm curious.
I don't think that anybody should be denied health care. I don't think that the health care between men and women are the same, or cis women, trans women. It's between men and women. Everyone should have the opportunity to get health care. I don't feel like it should be subsidized for trans people. I don't feel like in the military, they're paying for sex change operations and gender affirming care. I don't believe that should be the case at all. But if it's the same type of health care that we all need, like we get the flu, we break our arm, we need glasses, I don't feel like anybody should be discriminated for basic human rights. We all deserve basic human rights, but I don't think that one side deserves more or special care than any of the other.
Can I ask for clarification?
Yeah, what would you like clarified? Which part?
So because I was on board, but I see kind of what you're doing, like dancing around gender healthcare, and for me that is a life-saving healthcare. And that's not up to opinion, really. That's my personal experience with it. So you believe that we should be, where I think the prompt is more directed into, like, should trans people have access to trans healthcare?
Like, should you be allowed to transition, things like that. And on that note, you brought the military. That's why I thought it was very silly when people were like, oh, well, we shouldn't allow it because it's so expensive, it's draining our money. Well, let's put in this perspective. Trans healthcare, when it comes to government insurance, makes up about, I think, $13 million versus Viagra getting sent to soldiers makes up $44 million. And I think as long as you're talking about helping soldiers get erections overseas, the idea that a trans woman shouldn't be allowed to have HRT because of that to cut spending, maybe if we cut down on like a million other things that are being completely overshadowed on, then I wouldn't be open to it, but I'd understand it a bit more. But as long as we're still, like I said, as long as we're still funding Viagra and at 4 times the rate that we're funding transitional care, then I think the topic is silly.
What's the difference between women getting birth control, right, being able to access birth control, and me as a trans woman being able to afford gender affirming care?
That is completely different. Getting the birth control pill versus a surgery.
But that's not what I'm talking about. We're not talking about surgery.
What are you talking about then?
Like hormone pills, birth control. Why is it you can have yours, but I can't have mine?
Because I'm actually a woman.
That means nothing. That means nothing.
I am, and I actually
I'm a trans woman.
A period.
And here's the thing, I'm a trans woman, and I also have healthcare needs. I don't need to have a period. I don't need to have a period to experience the things that I experience as a trans woman. Here's the thing, we get blood clots just like cis women do. We get heart attacks just like cis women do.
And that's a human health care
We get other things, but here's the thing though, but we're all connected. That is also a trans healthcare thing. It's inclusive
It's a human healthcare thing.
It is inclusive of trans people. That is what I'm trying to get you to understand.
It's not exclusive.
It is inclusive.
If we all have heart attacks and we all have blood clots,
but the thing is, though, I should be able to get access to care as a trans person, and you have no right to tell me that I do not deserve to.
This is exactly the kind of framing you have to watch out for, and the conservative woman on this panel caught it instantly. The moment the prompt drops, denying trans people healthcare is a human rights violation, notice what she does. She doesn't take the bait. She separates two completely different things that activists love to blur together. And here's what people don't realize. There's a massive difference between basic healthcare that every single human being needs and a specific category of elective treatment. She makes the point that nobody should be denied care for the flu, a broken arm, glasses, the stuff we all need. But she draws the line at the government subsidizing transition specifically. That's not cruelty. That's a budget argument. And the conservative woman said something that gets buried under all the emotion. She said she doesn't think one side deserves more or special care than the other. Read that again. She's arguing for equal treatment, not less. Then the trans guest tries to flip it with the military spending stat, claiming trans healthcare on government insurance is around 13 million, while what they called Viagra for soldiers is 44 million. And look, I'll be fair, it's a clever rhetorical move, but it's a deflection. Pointing at one thing you think is wasteful does not automatically justify a second thing. Two wastes don't cancel into a right, and here's the part that blows my mind. When the trans guest demands to know the difference between birth control and gender-affirming care, the conservative woman gives the cleanest answer of the whole night. She says it plainly, getting the birth control pill versus a surgery. That's not a dodge. That is the distinction. One is routine, one is irreversible and enormously expensive. You cannot pretend those are the same category and expect taxpayers to nod along.
It's elective.
It doesn't matter. Well, women get boob jobs too, and it's elective.
But
so
are we paying for people's boob jobs?
I do not believe in universal health care. I do not believe birth control should be given out under health care. I think it's terrible for women and young girls. They should be educated naturally on their bodies. I think that is for the government to literally make us sick and kill us. I do not believe a dollar should go to anything trans or transitioning. I'm so sorry. Women get cancer, lose their breasts, all these things. Children have cancer. I would give that money to anything in the world. That is a choice. I cannot put a dollar towards that.
So
that's all.
Can I, what's it called? Just like kind of talk on that. So when it comes to the whole, talking about cancer and everything like that, I will definitely agree. Like, those are extremely major issues, but so is like transitional care. Like as earlier when we talked about the trans sports thing, we talked about averages, and you can say that oh, there's still a high suicide rate, whatever, but the average trans person is going to be happier post transition. And I will say, maybe
only for a short time.
Hold on. Sorry, love. I'm sorry that came off rude, but I will say there's definitely some people who, maybe transition isn't the best way, so then it goes wrong. And then, being trans, there is a lot of things with it. Gender dysphoria is such a bitch. But also at the same time, some people, like me, for example, I lived my whole life, and just like she said, ever since I was born, ever since I was 3, I got in trouble at school because I would tell kids that I was a girl and that my, it's fake, and that my parents wanted a boy. And so it is a life-changing thing, and it is a medical issue. And living my life through dysphoria, I can sit and talk to somebody, and there's been so many different ways. It's not like transition was the first thing that everyone jumped on, was like, yeah, this is the way you treat it. There was therapies, there was even sometimes loading trans women full of testosterone to see if that would fix the issue. And a lot of the times these don't fix the issue, and while things could fix it for one party, maybe it won't. And I'm not, going to say anything personal, but let's just say, we rewind time 10 years, me and Blossom are the same age, and, she has really bad dysphoria, and, we both have what we think is dysphoria. Well, let's say transition works perfectly for Blossom, and, it does improve her life. She's suicidal before, and now she's happy, she's vibrant, and she's living her life, and she's actually able to do it. But then let's look at me, and then let's say, oh, well, let's say maybe transition was wrong for her or him, whatever, and then I wouldn't say use me as the example of why it shouldn't be allowed for her. So
there you go. Wait, but I get the two different scenarios. I'm literally just saying I do not believe in us paying for it because we don't agree for it. So I would just say not $1 to that. But I would say not $1 to all the other things.
But I also
as well.
agree that we need more to allocate certain spending, not on transitional care, but we definitely do need to reallocate government spending on more important things. Like you said, there's I think it's kind of
a kid with cancer.
Yeah, and I think it's ridiculous that we don't
I don't
allow.
agree with you, but I can appreciate you being an equal opportunist.
Okay, this is the moment everything crystallizes. The trans guest says you have no right to tell me that I do not deserve care. And the conservative side fires back with one word that absolutely reframes the entire debate: elective. Then comes the line that should make everyone stop and think, because they point out women get cosmetic surgery too, and it's elective. So are we paying for everyone's elective procedures? You have to understand why that's so effective. It's not an attack on anyone's identity. It's a consistency test. And consistency is where these arguments usually collapse. But the strongest conservative woman takes it somewhere even more powerful. And I'm not going to pretend this wasn't emotional, because it was. She brings up women who get cancer and lose their breasts. she brings up children with cancer. And she says she would give that money to anything in the world before putting a single dollar toward what she sees as a choice. Now you can disagree with her conclusion, but you cannot call that heartless. She's saying when resources are limited, life-threatening illness comes first. That's a moral hierarchy most people actually share when they're being honest. And here's what I find genuinely fascinating. The opposing side tries to counter with the Blossom example, saying transition works perfectly for some people, that someone was suicidal before and happy after. And that's a real consideration. I won't dismiss it. But notice, it actually proves the conservative point about variation. If it works perfectly for one person and goes wrong for another, then it's not one-size-fits-all medicine the government should be blanket funding. It's individual and complicated. What really gets me is how the trans guest themselves admits transition isn't always the right path. They said it directly, that sometimes it goes wrong. And the moment you concede that, you've handed the other side their entire argument about caution and personal responsibility. That's why even one of the trans panelists ends up saying they can appreciate her being equal opportunity, because she was consistent.
Yeah.
I think in a world where we don't pay for skin grafts for severe burn victims, we definitely need to open that up when we shouldn't be, bring it back to the Viagra point again, we shouldn't be paying for soldiers to be able to get erections when we have people in the U.S. who are dying. We have people in the U.S. who, like I said, they suffer these horrible disfigurements and they can't even get the plastic surgery to fix that. I do think that needs to be fixed and that does need to be changed, but I also don't think that needs to take away from trans medical issues or things like that to do so.
I mean, yeah, that's why I kind of put that I didn't think it was necessary, because overall healthcare for men and women both, I think, yeah, okay, you should be able to go and get that kind of healthcare. But when it's subsidized by the government, gender transitioning, I think that's where I draw the line, because I agree kind of on that point. I don't think a lot of things should be subsidized by the government.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
If you want to continue, you can continue. Sorry, and I'll ask after.
Yeah, so that's pretty much my point, is I just think because it's a choice, it's something that you choose for yourself. I know we could debate back and forth on that, but it's something you want to go and get breasts, you want to get a sex change, you want those hormone blockers so you can feel more like a woman. I don't think that my taxpayer dollars should have to fund that, and I don't think my taxpayer dollars should have to fund a lot of things. So
what about antidepressants for someone who is depressed or something like that?
Nope.
I mean, let's say
So we just have opposite views,
Yeah.
I think, on terms of that, and I kind of respect it.
Wait, can I ask
I
something though?
understand
Would
it,
you guys
actually,
agree with
and-
subsidization or subsidizing whatever if I wanted boobs to make me feel more feminine because I have no boobs?
That could be access to gender affirming care for you.
If it cures or calms down your suicidal thoughts, or if it improves your mental health, I am
Quality of
for
life.
it. And your quality of life, I'm definitely for it. I actually understand your standpoint on not wanting to subsidize this. I completely understand it. I don't agree with it, but I do understand, but here's the reality. Our tax dollars are funding things that we don't like, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And so I think that's just something that we can't control. We don't have no
And at
control
least
around that.
I'm going to say
So I just wanna
this
make
just
that
from my personal
clear.
standpoint. The reason why I'd be more hesitant on that is because unlike body dysmorphia, which, it can be talked through, it can be, cured basically, you can't really do that with gender dysphoria. You can alleviate it, and there is some people who, like I said, maybe they don't need a transition to alleviate it. Maybe they can live their lives as cisgender perfectly fine, but they have these dysphoric thoughts. But then there are people where it is more severe. I think if body dysmorphia, you couldn't cure it at all and it was just awful, then yeah, totally. Yeah. But you can have a therapy talk down, whereas gender dysphoria, you can't really talk down that. It's just there. You're born with it. It's kind of just an innate fact of you, which is unfortunate.
No, I just appreciate consistency. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
Because if you said no, I think that would be super unfair.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, I actually like that you brought that in a little bit, because I do feel like even cisgender people do get gender affirming care. I know somebody that was a man that he grew breasts naturally. He was testosterone normal human and had to get it removed.
Who paid for that?
Huh?
Who paid for that?
I honestly, I'm going to be real. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. But I was more so just bringing up the fact that I do believe that cisgender people can also receive gender health care. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Here's the part nobody wants to admit. The conservative woman lands the cleanest principle of the entire conversation, and she does it without raising her voice. She says transition is a choice, something you choose for yourself, and that her taxpayer dollars should not have to fund that. And then she goes further in a way that's actually really honest. She says she doesn't think a lot of things should be funded by the government. That matters. She's not singling anyone out. She applies the same skepticism across the board. That's intellectual consistency, and it's rare. And let me break down why this is such a strong position. The whole debate kept circling back to one idea: scarcity. There is a limited pot of money. Every dollar spent in one place is a dollar not spent somewhere else. Economists call this opportunity cost, and it's been a foundational concept since the discipline was formalized back in the 1800s. It's not a talking point, it's just how budgets work. So when she prioritizes burn victims who can't get skin grafts and kids fighting cancer, she's making a real economic argument, not an emotional one. Now, the opposing side does push back with something interesting, arguing that gender dysphoria can't be talked down the way body dysmorphia supposedly can, that you're born with it. And that's a sincere belief. I respect that they shared it. But here's the thing. That's a contested medical claim, not settled fact, and basing massive public spending on a still debated premise is exactly what fiscal conservatives are cautious about. Wanting more evidence before more spending isn't bigotry, it's responsibility. And honestly, the most telling moment was when even the trans guest admitted they appreciated her consistency, that if she'd said no to everyone else's care but yes to her own preferences, that would be unfair. Exactly, that's the whole point. Fairness means the same rules for everyone, not special carve-outs. She held that line with grace the entire time, never got nasty, never dehumanized anyone, and still refused to budge on principle. That's how you actually win a debate. Not by screaming, but by being right and being consistent. And that's what conservatism at its best looks like: compassion for people, paired with honesty about reality. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.